Today is a really fun day, and actually, our lesson might take 2 days, depending on the weather. So, the first part of today's lesson really has to do with identifying some fossils. So, today you're going to go around to each one of the lab tables, and you're going to find some really interesting things to look at. And you're going to see if you can't identify the fossils. And then I'm going to let you look and see, yeah, this is a fossil. It's not like a chunk of cement that had stuff in it. So these are fossils of plants, right? And animals, right? But sometimes you can have fossils that something like existed. This is super awesome. What a cool fossil. I know it doesn't look like much, but it looks like maybe worms or something were in there. It's not worms, but you're going to learn about this a little bit today. And they're super cool. Like, what in the world, right? So there's going to be some rocks and fossils for you to touch today and try and identify really amazing websites to try and identify some rocks and some fossils. And then you will put what you find in your notebook so that we can talk about it. But there are two kinds of fossils. The first kind of fossil is like a fossil of an actual organism, right? Like this looks like a snail, right? Totally does. Okay, so there's a fossil of an organism or with bones, things like that, okay? The second kind of fossil is called a trace fossil, and it looks maybe like this. I don't know if you can see it very good. There we go. And what it is evidence that maybe something lived there. Like it's an imprint of a leaf or a footprint, or you don't even see the actual leaf there or the tree there. It's just an imprint. And that is like proof that something was actually there. Like, have you ever been someplace and you were like, oh, people were here? And you could tell even though there weren't any people there? How could you tell? Right, so you look for things that a person might have left behind, like a piece of hair or a footprint or a fingerprint. Those things are proof that that person or people were actually there. And so this is what scientists do. They look for proof that things existed in history, and they are searching for things like bones and footprints and maybe eggs or old feces or things that aren't actually parts of animals, but just things that animals have left behind. So maybe in our second lab that we're going to do, and please come to school prepared for the weather, because the second part of our lesson, we're going to go out and look for modern traces. Like outside, we're going to look in sidewalks and like at the mud, and we're going to look for traces that organisms were there. Maybe it's like one of those little wormholes. Maybe it's a hole that an animal dug. Maybe it's a footprint or a bird footprint. Maybe it's some animal scat. You don't find the actual animal, you just find evidence that it was there. And it helps scientists to know about like what the animals acted like or how they behaved when we look at footprints and leaves and imprints of different animals that existed hundreds of thousands of millions of years ago. And then we learn from them that way. So today, you're going to do two different labs. The first one, you go from station to station and you check out some really amazing fossils that are actually either fossils or trace fossils and try and identify them, and with a Michigan website. And the second part is you go outside and you're going to try and collect some evidence of modern traces and then be able to share those out, and we'll act like scientists. All right, enjoy this activity. Really get your mind around investigating the world around you. Have a good one.